Welcome to the Avatar Podcast. I'm Alan, and today I'm going to be comparing the original Avatar: The Last Airbender series to the brand new version that recently got released on Netflix for streaming in February. Now, if you're new to the series or just haven't watched it since you were younger, I'll give you a little rundown or summary, I should call it. The world is set with 4 nations: water, earth, fire, and air. And they all lived peacefully until the evil Fire Nation tried to take over and gain power. The show is based around the Avatar, who is the only person in the world who can master the power of all 4 of the nations, water, earth, fire, and air, and use them to his advantage to save the world from the evil Fire Nation. So, first, to sort of kick off with the original series, Avatar: The Last Airbender first aired way back in 2005 and was a huge success. Each episode ran for just above, I'd say 20 minutes, and it ran for a solid 3 seasons. Many years after its initial release, Avatar became completely streamable in May 2020 on Netflix. This was a super special release because it took the world that they loved so much when they were younger and made it completely streamable, free of advertisements, and all chronologically. So people during COVID, which is a really smart time to put something like that online, they could just watch it head on and just really indulge all the episodes and get a new perspective for the show. I think everything about the show and the animation is almost near perfect to the storytelling, and I think the voices especially really separates the original series from the new live action and a lot of other Nickelodeon shows at the time, because something really special about the show was when it got released for Nickelodeon, it was one of the only shows that I would say at the time, it wasn't just something that you would just watch on the couch and just sort of brainlessly watch. It had a real story behind it, and it was sentimental, and that was really interesting. And the voices behind it, really brought the show to life. Something that's super cool about the series is that the show is technically intended for a younger audience, but I think it's almost better and more meaningful when you watch it with age. I think throughout the entire show, it's delivering a lot of life-changing messages and advice in every episode, and seeing it as an older person for the second time was really a big change in perspective. Now, the new version of Avatar: The Last Airbender is a live-action spin-off of the original series, and it follows the same sort of storyline. I think it's similar to reading a book and then watching a movie for it afterwards. People all over the internet had very divided opinions on the show. If I could speak for myself, I'd say it's just okay. I think if you're not thinking too hard about it and just enjoying the show, it's actually pretty cool. I think the fight scenes and sets are really fun to watch. And I also think, similar to the original series, the characters are really likable. For as crazy of a world that they try to replicate, the costumes and sets are pretty impressive. I think another thing that really separates 2 series from each other is that the new live action, I think, follows a lot of the same blueprints as a lot of other big series nowadays, with the length of the episodes, and the cartoon is just like any other cartoon. It's, like I said, around 20 minutes, whereas the new live action is a much longer episode and tries to sort of fit a lot of the same storyline that the original had into that long episode. So it's around, I'd say, an hour each episode for the live action. And it almost feels sort of segued and sidetracked in a lot of episodes, which is different from the original series that flows. But if I had to be honest and try to compare the original series to the new version, I'd say it's not even close. I think the original series was just original, and it was really well written. While the new live action has some very not so good dialogue and scripts that almost feel homemade to me. Kind of like iMovie back in the day when you would make movies with your friends, and it just kind of felt cheesy and not very high quality. But I kind of feel like watching the live action version, it feels like from start to center of the show, they sort of gain a little bit of comfort in themselves and in their characters. Like from the start, it felt a little bit awkward at the start and the characters' interactions with each other. But as you watch the show, it gets better and more comfortable, and it flows a little bit better. I think something to definitely put into account is, I think the live action was definitely trickier to make. When you're in front of a camera, you really have to sort of bring a character alive. It's harder for actors to get a chemistry with each other in front of a camera. So I think for the actors in the live action version, they definitely had a harder time. They have to bring characters to life and immerse themselves in a world and have to remember scripts and choreography, whereas voice actors, you probably just have to familiarize with yourself with a script. So it's definitely much harder to replicate a world like that as a real actor. So you got to cut them a little bit of slack. That about wraps up my review in comparison to the Avatar shows. Both were really fun, and I recommend watching them for yourself to make up your own decision and maybe even prove me wrong. Thanks for listening. Peace.